record this MA, as I am unable to get that from my end. Sophia, please record this MA. Yeah, all set. So, before we start our MA, let me give you a quick overview of it. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before we start our MA officially, let me give you a quick overview of it. We'll be having 3 segments in it. In the first segment, we'll be covering the fundamentals of the project TLT. And right after that, we'll be asking some questions from Twitter post, and followed by we'll be unmuting community members and see what questions they have in their mind in the live segment. All set?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd like to thank everyone in advance for your questions. There's a lot of good ones I noticed in reading.
Okay,
also,
so Sir Jared,
yeah, I wanted to ask you, Jason. I didn't know, I think it was maybe you we spoke about maybe
that's
playing
good.
that introductory video. Are you able to do that, or?
Yeah, please go ahead. I was just about to say that. Please go ahead. It's your cue.
You want me to try and share it? Okay. Hold on one second. So for those of you that are listening,
Yeah, sure, please.
I'm just going to take you to our YouTube page. We have a bunch of video trailers for several different things, different aspects of our project. One is just like, which I'm about to play now, and I hope because I'm sharing it from United States here that the clarity is good. But if not, you'll get the idea, and you can go check it out yourself. But we also have our Endless Runner game trailer on there. It's all on our website as well. And then we also have our Everdeen initiative, which we'll probably talk about too. So we have 3 trailers. We'd love for you to see them on your own time. But for now, just to give you a little idea of kind of the scope of the project and where we came from and what we believe in, I'm going to try and play it, and let's see if it works if I share the screen here. Bear with me. Are you guys seeing my screen yet, or no?
Yeah, sure. Your screen is visible.
Are you guys seeing my screen?
Jared, I see it.
Okay.
Sure. We are seeing.
All right, let's see if this works. Here it goes. Bear with this.
I'm not sure that we have sound.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was some
I'm not sure
distortion in the video, and yeah,
Sorry,
we didn't
guys. Yeah,
hear
the
the sound.
sound. I have yet to have the. It just seems like no matter if you guys try it, meaning an AMA, or we try it, sound never comes through. But that's
Yeah.
okay. I just encourage everyone to get on over to our website or our YouTube. It's all there to check out, and at your leisure. Just make sure. All right, cool. Can everyone see and hear me now? I'm just kind of getting back to screen share from screen share mode here.
Not really.
No, you can't see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. iPads are funny with this stuff. Cool.
There we
Good?
go.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting. Thanks, everyone. Good morning. It's 8:30 in the morning here in the United States, just outside of New York City in Connecticut. That's where Zach and I are from. All right. So, Jason, how would you like us to get
Okay.
started?
Thanks,
This
Mr.
is your
Jared
show.
and
So let's
Mr. Zach. Let's start the show officially. Please introduce yourself first of all, and then we can go for question number one.
Sure. I'll start. My name is Jared. How are you? Like I had just mentioned, Zach's my partner. We founded this project together. We both live in Connecticut, just outside of New York City, about 35 miles or so outside of New York City. So many of the people in and around this area commute to Manhattan for work. Just to give you kind of an example of where we are situationally. Let's see, I'm 44 years old, soon to be 45, but don't tell anyone. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I like long walks on the beach. No. Anyways, so a little bit about my background, and I won't go into detail, is just in the interest of everyone's time. I've had a passion for, the general equity markets for a long time. My first job out of college, I had worked for Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor many years ago. Not to date myself, but that was back in 1999 through 2001 or so. I was then given an opportunity that I couldn't refuse, and I went on the road as a recording artist and drummer for many, many years, for the better part of 13 years, actually, until about 2009 with the birth of my daughter. I couldn't travel anymore. So in that time, and when I wasn't on the road, I would always come back. I would manage restaurants, work in various different industries, sales, what have you. And after I decided to retire from the music industry, I didn't go back into finance per se, but what I wanted to do was operations, and being that the restaurant business was always a passion of mine, I went back into restaurant consulting and restaurant management, where up until COVID, I was a partner in a very large restaurant in the city of Stamford, which is outside of New York City. It was after COVID that I thought I was getting out of the restaurant business, and I sold my shares. But in any event, a friend that I know and I have known for a long time, he owns a very large group in the Manhattan, New York City suburb, Connecticut area. And he convinced me to kind of come back after COVID and help him get his restaurants up and running. And with that came a contingency that I would have to bring someone to help me. And it was through actually a mutual colleague that introduced me to Zach. And Zach and I, and the point I'm trying to make is we've been working now for the better part of almost 3 years together in other industries. Basically we operate two very, very large restaurant establishments in and out this area. So we've been working together as a team for a long time prior to this project getting started, which got started just over a year ago, last November. It started percolating last fall, but we finally said, all right, let's go for it about last November. So, and I'll let Zach introduce himself.
Hi there. I'm Zach. I am 28 years old. I am one of Jared's business partners in a couple of other ventures. And I got my start in a similar fashion to Jared in the restaurant industry, getting into it mostly as a matter of convenience and something that seemed like a natural fit. Service and service-related disciplines were always something I kind of gravitated towards. Though, more color on my background, I actually went to design school. I went to an art school here in the United States and pursued an undergraduate degree, as well as I was actually in a master's program for design and arts. So that is a passion of mine, and that's certainly a place where I got my start. Though vocationally, I was actually in and out of a tech and finance recruiting office for the better part of 10 years, doing all kinds of low-level, junior-level stuff to start, working on, the pipelines and building out recruiting databases for senior level recruiters in the tech and finance space. So many of our clients were based here in New York area, Boston area, Connecticut here being a bit of a hotbed in terms of hedge funds and private equity. We had a bit of a head start in a lot of ways. So I was kind of in the thick of that for a little while as well. And I found a passion for building teams, especially in the technology space. There's something really fun about that. And so I then started to translate those skills into more service-related disciplines, and I started building teams in the restaurant space. I was managing catering programs, running weddings for a little while, and then a mutual colleague connected Jared and I, and we did find this opportunity. We've now been working together for a couple of years, and we've been very successful running a couple of very successful restaurants here in the Connecticut, New York, Westchester area. So we've now been working on this project for, better part of a year, and definitely started as a passion first, kind of a project. We asked ourselves, what would we want to build? What would we like to build? It's going to be a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears here, and we want to try and optimize our dollar. We're going to self-fund this thing. So, let's take it slow. Let's be pragmatic, but let's also, really try and find something that we can both get behind. And so that's where we kind of found the inception of this project. We have a mutual love for ancient history and all things historically related. We, identified a real need within that, area, and really started to ask ourselves some questions as to how we could build out a project around value intrinsic to that need. And so the need I'm talking about is within the academic community. It is financial in nature, and it's an issue that we think blockchain technology could have a real impact on. So we wanted to construct a project that could make a significant, high integrity kind of an altruistic impact within a space that we were passionate about, being history, and at the same time provide real value to an investor class that would want to invest in a project, maybe not for those altruistic roots, but for other purposes as well. And so that has kind of led us into Two Lands. And I'd love for then to kind of pass the torch over to Jared. He does a great job introducing the concept of Two Lands and where that name comes from, and kind of some of the origin story behind that as well.
Sure. Thanks, Zach. So really it starts, the word origin is really what this is all about. When Zach and I were looking for similar passions to interconnect, because honestly, in any business, you have to have passion for it, right? And the one thing we identified really quickly was, as he mentioned, ancient history, and particularly the stuff that we don't know that's still out there to find and discover and to learn. So this project is largely based and founded in our origin story. We speak, and I think they're even changing it now, but our humans as we know it have been on this planet for 200,000-300,000 years, yet recorded history, only covers, 6,500 years of that at best. So there's a large gap in, learning about who, as a people, humans are. So we figured, look, if there's a way for us to even help move that needle just a bit, to kind of fill in those gaps and help the people that are doing the good work every day out there, to help make their little lives easier. Because, I chat about it often. Your philanthropists, this used to be a thing 100 years ago where the people with the big money would donate to these expeditions, to these universities, to the research and the funding and all that's needed to get out there and dig and look for things that rewrite our history. But those philanthropists are no longer. They're those billionaires, your Musks and your Bezos and such. They're more interested in going to space now, but there's still so much good work here left to be done. And so,
Not
like Zach had mentioned,
the costs are rising.
Yeah, Yeah, the costs are rising. And, actually, it's interesting. This is perfect timing in a way for us because there's been a new, due to like shows like Ancient Apocalypse and other shows right now that are kind of starting to trend. This is a good time to, for us just thematically to talk about this issue because it's been pushed on the side why space exploration has been so prevalent over the last handful of years, and now it seems to be making a big of a comeback, which we're grateful for. So yeah, that's the name Two Lands.
Technology's coming a long way as well. It's really changing the landscape, and so our understanding of history is changing. And being that we're moving at such rapid speed, and being that we also have to publish in 15 different languages across different types of metadata, we have to find a way to better aggregate information, better disseminate information, but also enable the people that are doing the work in the first place to better do that work and to find the funding that they need. Because as it is right now, most of those sources of funding are drying up. Like Jared had mentioned, those billionaires are not necessarily, funding expeditions the way that they used to. And that is representative of simply a portion of where that money normally comes from. That traditional revenue source will, be something that's impactful, but it's also the grant money. They're grants shrinking everywhere. Not to mention a very competitive landscape within academia that requires this almost publish or die mentality that really does not promote the greatest of quality, nor does it help projects, prioritize the right things, which, a lot of the time they're having to cut costs, they're having to find ways to get creative in order to publish. At which point those publishers, they don't pay the academics anything for their work. They take that work, they then use their platform to then disseminate information to make money off of it, and they keep 30% right off the top. Margins in publishing are among the best in the world, regardless of industry. And it is wild how little they pass along to the people that are actually doing what is giving value, to what it is they're putting out. So that's kind of where we're focused, and we're rather passionate about it. And we see this incredible need. We also do see a lot of, mass propagation of these ideas. The Graham Hancocks of the world, who have been, for a while labeled pseudoscientists, are now starting to change their public perception and change their image a little bit because of the fact that people are starting to realize that, like Jon Stewart, who was a comedian first and not necessarily a news reporter, this gentleman, Graham Hancock, not necessarily a scientist. He's a reporter first. He's a journalist, and he cares to simply make connections and to point things out and to see what he sees and to bring it to the world and say, hey, do you agree with me? And we kind of want to do similar things in that we want to inspire that in a lot of our investors. We want to inspire that in a large global community. We want to remind people of that inner curiosity and that inner explorer that we all have. We all have a vested interest, by the way, in understanding our origin. I think, as members of the human species, it's something that is intrinsic to us. It is something that I hold near and dear, and I imagine many others do as well. So what we encourage more than anything else throughout this project is that, that curiosity, and we want to exude that in a lot of ways, but it really is tied to the central core theme and tenet of this project. And that's why we went with the branding that we did, with the thematics that we did. We asked ourselves, what out of ancient history is the sexiest? What is the most fun? What can we really play around with as far as, graphics, illustrations, digital arts, historical figures, historical monuments. There is a plethora of really amazing stuff to work with. I guess is just the most simple way to put it. And so that's why we settled on ancient Egypt, and we really, started to forge forward with that as a core part of the branding. And there is a lot of fun to play with there. We have hieroglyphs, we have, pyramids, we have mummies, we have pharaohs, and there is a really cool ancient community, tied to this thing as well. They were ancient mathematicians. They built incredible works, but they also had amazing public works, and they had some pretty comprehensive written laws. They had comprehensive theologies that we can play with as well. The gods are just, the pantheon of gods are really fun as well. So that's kind of where we started. And yeah, I think.
Yeah, I would. So the name Two Lands is, people ask. In fact, someone had asked about our logo on our chat this morning, which was nice. It was also a Twitter question because, yeah, someone did note that those are Egyptian symbols, and I'm glad someone did pick up on that. The owl and the shen. You can do your homework on what that means, though. But anyways, Two Lands. The name is actually what ancient Egypt was called prior to it being called Egypt, right? So prior to 3100 BC, when Egypt was united, it was divided into upper and to lower. It was otherwise known as the Two Lands. And the Egyptians were big into duality, right? So not only upper and lower, light and dark, good and evil, and various others, life and death, and it goes on and on, right? So for us, we thought it was not only an appropriate name, but also there's a lot of duality in this project and a lot of symbolism that we have, hidden all over. But just from a basic perspective, Two Lands to us is, we see it as like the world we live in, and now the other land being the metaverse. So we like to tie in a lot of the lore of ancient Egypt to this project. And we have a lot of fun with that. And I encourage you all, as you watch this project grow, to keep your eyes peeled for little hidden Easter eggs and various different things. We have things hidden all throughout this project for a bigger reason later down the road that I won't mention. But just we like to have fun with it. And there's some stuff there that you should just kind of keep your eyes out along the way. That we have fun with this project because there's a lot of room to have fun with it. And as much as it's a high mission project for sure, and a grandiose one at that, but we can have some fun with it along the way. And I think that's in large part where our graphics come from and our gaming ecosystem will come from, because it's just I think there's a good way to marry both of them together, having a high mission project that really can do using blockchain to essentially help fund such a dire need in our world, right? But also creating that vehicle blockchain as it is, well, not creating blockchain, but using it, I should say, as a way to help people like you and I, make some money, hopefully generate some wealth, and where everyone wins. We earn, in other words, our investments grow, and at the same time, through our DAO, through blockchain, we're able to help contribute to these really good causes out there, people doing the good work and trying to learn more about who we are as a people. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Mr. Zach and Mr. Jared. That's a good comprehensive introduction. I think you've covered the second and third part of our question. One thing I wanted to make it clear is that Two Land Token, the Two Land Token has the most pioneer founders that belongs to the hoteling industry, which means this is the finest thing to have regarding the customer services. So I believe for you guys, community would be the backbone, and that's good. Let's take question number 2. What is the difference between TLT and other projects? Over to you guys.
Yeah. So I think one of the first things that we'll say is first and foremost, we are an LLC based here in the United States. That kind of sets us in a class in and of ourselves. There are a couple of projects in the similar boat, but there are very few that have actually registered an LLC. We conscripted a legal team to have a custom token subscription agreement put together prior to any private sale. We have vesting agreements put into place. We've really started to, and from the inception of this project, we've tried to look at this as a legitimate business. We've tried to stay transparent. We built out an investor pool of very close friends and family that are all of relative high net worth. We're as compliant as we possibly can be within the current set of laws, rules, and regulations in the United States of America. So in that sense, we have a lot going for us. What also helps set us apart is mine and Jared's background, in that we are service industry professionals. We are of a recruiting background, but we're also of the arts and media backgrounds. We have design-based backgrounds, working with technologies related, but also, Jared has accessory skills like music related. Something that we've found to be incredibly useful, actually. Jared's leveraged a number of his connections already to help provide us with a lot of great content, and really started to, help us build out a team as well. We've been able to, with, our kind of friends and family connections, develop a team at really low cost, really, really very low cost, and provide some actual utility. What it is that we're developing right now is going to be a new bit of utility that will be releasing in a version 2 of this white paper. We're going to be putting out a light paper likely within the next couple of weeks, and a more formal version 2 of our white paper within, a month and a half. So keep your eyes peeled out for that. But we've been extremely pragmatic. And I guess all of this is to say that we are very fortunate, but also have been, litigious about the way that we've constructed this company, this investor pool, to a degree that we do not feel the pressure to release until the time is right. We will do everything in our power to make this as successful a project and release as possible. And we're not willing to compromise on that vision. So long as we hold that, as, of paramount importance, we are able to proceed with this caution, but also this ambivalence to a lot of other distraction that many other projects do have to face. We are fortunate to come from, an area of means, I guess is the best way to put it. And so we are able to leverage quite a bit at our disposal relatively quickly. And so I think all of that puts us in a bit of a class of our own. But to then focus on some of the utility that we're building out and what sets us apart in that regard, what we're building right now and what you actually won't see in our white paper. This is going to be something that will be released within the next, couple of weeks, month and a half. We're kind of taking our time with that as well. We're going to be building out a utility concept, and doing the actual, tangible development behind the utility concept that we'll be releasing in lockstep with this Two Lands token. And it will involve a series of dynamic NFTs that change from sarcophagi into mummies, into pharaohs, and then into gods. And they'll be integrated into a GameFi ecosystem based in trivia, actually. There will be a series of trivia games that you'll be able to earn rewards, and your pharaohs and gods will be able to allow you in access, but also additional features and rewards. There will be, rarity classes. There will be, a relative rarity index. There will be staking, and will allow users within our ecosystem to generate profits, to take their profits without it affecting or adversely affecting our token. We'll be creating a number of vehicles by which our company will be able to capitalize our own supply. And we'll have, a sustainable system in which we can watch Two Lands as a community here grow sustainably. So can't wait to start releasing more details in that regard. But all of those things are really, really important, or at least we feel they are, and we'd love to hear your feedback. But we want to stay as integrity forward, and we want to stay as pragmatic as possible, and as open to feedback as possible as well. And so we'd like to think that by and large is what sets us apart as a Two Lands community. Jared, was there anything you'd like to add to that question?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Zach. That's fantastic. And if anyone ever wants to learn more about our vesting agreement and stuff, we can certainly talk about that, at a later time, but because there is some contingencies. Because the one thing that we wanted to do when we, started to design this project was look at it from the perspective, if we were the investor in this project, how would we encourage people to hold? How we could continue to encourage people to be excited in this project, but with the realization, we understand that people are in it to make money. So how could we set this project up so everyone realizes the value and continues to realize the value with benchmarks along the way? And Zach's really good at explaining that. But the only other thing I was going to add to what he was saying was about our pragmatism, in that we realized, look, it takes an army, right? And as leadership, as leaders in a company, you have to also realize your own limitations, and sometimes you have to seek people that have more knowledge in the space than perhaps you do. So one of the things that we've done now over the last couple of months, and we're proud to announce, is that we brought in a strategic advisor by the name of Tony Drummond. And Tony, if anyone's familiar with the project MicroPets, Tony founded MicroPets, and so now he's essentially a team member. We speak 2-3 times a week, and he's helping to steer the ship with us a bit. And we're learning from a lot of the mistakes he made. And a lot of times these crypto projects, they're so quick to rush. They want to release. But we're not like that. We'd rather make sure that all of our investments are protected. Zach had said we self-funded this project. Our private sale was $80,000 that we raised in a better part of a couple months. Friends and family, word of mouth only. We weren't even able to advertise it. So having Tony a part of the team now is invaluable because he's been through this before. A lot of crypto projects and we've also enlisted Kryptonite Marketing, who has a plethora of experience in this space too. So we have a couple heavy hitters that's been in the space a while on our team essentially. And with Tony, what's so great about him is he gets it, right? He's been down this road before. And I think a lot of cryptos, when they release, they bring on people that just kind of tell them how this business works. But very few of them actually have people on this team that have released very, very successful projects. So, I mean, Tony brought MicroPets to within 3 weeks from a 550 market cap to north of 220 million, right? So we're really fortunate and blessed to have him
on Google Play and the App Store.
Yeah. So I mean, we have multiple various gaming platforms that are going to be. I mean, Zach just described what's going to be released, the GameFi version of our Pharaoh. That's going to be released, at launch. But we also have an endless runner that's already in beta that you can view the video on YouTube or a website, wherever. And that's going to come a little later down the road. So, and that's going to be for the App Store as well. So he's already brought his game to the App Store. So, and it's very difficult to do that. So we'll be able to help, he'll help us navigate that as well. So having him is invaluable because we already have a team member that's already done it before and created one of the largest tokens at that, most successful one. So I think if anything sets us apart beyond our pragmatism, it's having him a part of the team now.
Okay, thank you for the remarkable answer. Let's go with the next question we have. Can you introduce the ecology and user construction of TLT? I think you've covered that part. If you wanted to elaborate more, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to elaborate just a little bit more because that is a great question. And there's just a little bit that I haven't necessarily covered because we did a few interesting things with our burns for TwoLands token. And we do have a little bit of rebase functionality built into it as well, creating just the smallest of deflationary effects. This is certainly not a hyper deflationary token, though we did watch, as that wave came and went. And so, we do really love the concept of static reflections. It's almost in a way a soft staking mechanism. And so we've instituted a 2% transaction tax on all TwoLands token transactions. 1.1983%, essentially 1.2% will be burned, and 0.8% will be a static reflection redistributing to all TwoLands token holders proportionate to the amount of the market share owned and the supply owned. The burn mechanism is the next thing I'll kind of focus on because it is a little interesting how we've decided to break it up, and we've asked ourselves essentially the question: why is it the case that max supply tokens that have a very large max mint, why is it that they burn off huge portions all at once when it may actually be in our better interest to hold those tokens, to schedule those burns, and in the meantime use them? We have the ability to, through smart contracts, schedule and automate burns, and that's exactly what we've done. But we've also found a way to, now with that burn scheduled and with that token allocation, put aside in another wallet, we can expect that static reflections will allow us to capitalize on our supply in a new and very exciting way, a way that will make us more sustainable and allow us to offer more liquidity to the market as the project scales and grows. And that's truly one of the things that we've really focused on when we've been building out this set of utilities, but also our token economy itself is how do we keep offering more liquidity to the market as the token price goes up? Because if there's no liquidity, then people can't buy and the token price goes down. It's just that simple. So we have to be in possession of a mechanism by which we can capitalize our supply. We can have people invest in, say, products that we put out or the ecosystem, different bits of functionality and utility. Games are a great way to do that. Consumables and durables within gaming ecosystems are fantastic ways to do that. But we have to find a way to provide value within those consumables, within those games, within those anything that we're selling. And so we've kind of focused on a holistic view in which we can continuously take in more of our own supply in a couple of ways without it really hurting any one individual investor or one investor class or one part of the ecosystem in particular. So our burn mechanisms, we've split up and we've scheduled, and we've taken about 30%, 29.77% of our total supply, and we've scheduled it. 5.55% will be initially burned after the successful conclusion of our public sale. And we will also be kind of splitting up the rest of it into what are called sacrificial and holder burns. And so we wanted this burn mechanism to work and scale proportionate to the growth of the project. And that's the holder burn. It's a feature tied solely to the number of individual wallet addresses, whoever's acting as holders of the project. So it would be a burn initiated once certain benchmarks are reached, and one per benchmark, meaning that if we say set a benchmark of 1,000 off a significant portion, around 2-3%, we actually have all of those details on our white paper right now. So feel free; those numbers won't change in terms of how much we're going to be burning. 2.2%, 1.1% at times, 3.14%, but proportionate to the growth of the project. As these benchmarks are successfully reached, we will be burning about 24% of the total supply. We will also, with another 6%, will be over the course of the first 12 months post public sale launch, we'll be burning off 0.5% each month as the full moon reaches its zenith over the Giza Plateau. And we call those the sacrificial burn mechanisms. And that is a really kind of fun and exciting one, and one that is scheduled simply for the first 12 months. So they are not proportionate necessarily to the growth of the project, but it is a essentially static, scheduled, very consistent burn for the first 12 months of the year. Jared has developed some really cool digital arts that we will be minting as NFTs and releasing in lockstep with these sacrificial burns. We're going to be using them as, marketing pieces as well as, stargazing. We love to excite. We love to bring out that inner explorer and inspire curiosity. And so that's part of it as well. And we wanted to try and tie that into our burn in a way.
So this is it's a celebration of moon phases, right? Imagine as soon as the moon reaches the apex of the Giza Plateau, the full moon each month, all of a sudden a burn's going to happen automatically. And we're going to release some type of NFT. Well, we have the NFTs made. We just have to figure out how we want to do it so it's fun for everyone. And it's a celebration of what the ancient Egyptians believed it. They were so big into the constellations and the moon and all that stuff. So we want to stay true to what they believed in, and we love that kind of lore as well. So that's why we chose that. And in fact, those on our white paper, those burns, it doesn't specify that they were automated because it was in the last few weeks that we decided to get those automated by a company called Red Duck out of Ukraine, and they're amazing. In fact, they just won. Mark, who owns that company, they just won, I think, best blockchain developer, or they won a big award for out of 3,500 developers out there. So they got first place and they won a big prize, which is great. So, one of the things we pride ourselves in being able to find really talented people in certain aspects of various different spaces. We take our time. We interview everyone. We talk to people. We get a sense for who they are as people. People first, and then we see how we can have a working relationship. because that's important for us to get to know people that we work with, right? You got to know and trust people. You got to take your time with everything.
It's also that to say it's also important when developing any technology, especially across global, kind of lines here. Communication comes first. You have to be able to communicate with your team in order to develop quickly, in order to develop at all, really, to be on the same page. And so we prioritize communication almost above all else. But second, we also do prioritize hard work, ethic, grit. We are sweat equity guys ourselves. So we like people who do the same. And we have a lot of team members that do that at this point, and we're very lucky to be able to leverage them.
And then lastly, and I'll let you, Jason, take the next question, is, back to and tying into the fact of perhaps what sets us apart and all this stuff is we understand the value of community. Community's everything, right? They're the backbone. This is a grassroots project. With that, I think we do a pretty decent job of engaging the community. I know me, I tend to, I'm very active in the chat, and I also go live a lot, and I constantly make daily video updates, and I like to engage that way. I want people to get to know me, not even just Two Lands is great and all, that's fantastic, right? But there's a lot of great projects out there. I feel, and I know Zach feels the same way, is at the end of the day, you're not investing so much in the project, and that's fan. If you're a fan of the mission and all that, awesome. But really, truly, you're investing in the team, the dev team that's running the project, and their ability to see it through. So that's why I feel it's so imperative to actually get to know us as people. That's why I like to do these video AMAs as opposed to, I'll never do a text AMA. I want people to learn and get to know who we are, what makes us tick, look us in the eyes, see our passion, learn about what we're doing and putting the right things in place and the people in place to help bring this thing long term. So sorry. And then if I digress, and you can get back to your questions.
Okay, thank you. We can definitely see the clarity and the transparency of Two Land Token. Let's get back to our question session. Can you introduce the token configuration and distribution? I think you've covered that a bit.
Yeah, though I will be happy to go into just a little bit more detail about some of the allocations and what it is we're thinking. I also wanted to quickly say we will be revisiting our tokenomics, being that we're developing new utility, and we're going to be doing that in a really sustainable way in which we, work on capitalizing our supply and making sure that we have everything buttoned up from an accounting perspective, because I think that really has been a focus, especially over the last couple of months. And it's something that we would really like to, be able to show our investors in a number of ways and be more transparent about with our investors. Those accounting processes are being put into place, but our tokenomics model will be revisited because of the fact that we want to make sure that it is built in as sustainable a way as possible. So some of these numbers may be subject to a little bit of change. The burn percentage will stay exactly the same. Our private sale will stay exactly the same. Our team percentage will stay exactly the same. But as for what we add in a public sale, will then help determine what we need to add in liquidity to the market upon initial release. And it'll also help us determine what we will have for our ecosystem build and what we'll keep in reserves. What we can essentially forecast for and model against is going to determine a lot of that final number. That said, as we currently conceptualize it, we have, and including also what it is we've already done, we have 8% locked up in a private sale. And there have been some vesting mentioned, but just to give you some color on that, we have 100% lock on all of the private sale for up to 12 months. At 12 months, those private sale members are given an opportunity to earn 10% on their sum for 1 year additional lockup. If they sign that contract, their tokens are locked for an additional 12 months for a total of 24. Now, if they choose not to lock up for an additional year, they can liquidate up to 25% of their tokens after 12 months. If they liquidate, they then will not be offered that 10% on their sum, and they can liquidate the full amount after 18 months. They can also choose not to sign, not to liquidate, and liquidate the full amount up to 18 months later. they'll have the ability to liquidate that 25% between 12 and 18 months as well. So there can be some sporadic sell-offs as well. We wanted to incorporate a model where there would be sporadic vesting so that there would be fewer liquidity events to chase. We know there are some ambulance chasers in the space that often, sell off and buy in the dip. And we understand that, we appreciate that, but we want to take that into our consideration when designing this. And so we have. There won't be quite as many liquidity events in that case, because you'll have some liquidation at 12, 18, and 24 months. Those who will have covered their risk at the 12-month mark will be less likely to liquidate further down the road as well. So anytime you have people in the private sale liquidating, they will be covering certain degrees of their risk, at which point they'll become less likely to liquidate going forward. The team liquidity is 10%. That will be locked by a third party. Mine personally will be locked for 2 years or more. I know the rest of the team has talked about 18 months, and that's a definitive number. They may lock for longer, like myself as well. I can't speak for them necessarily. But in that way, we can have our community essentially expect that 18% of the project will be locked. There will be a lot of transparency around when all of that is released. The terms of our public sale, the terms of our private sale, the terms of our whitelisting, the terms of our project are going to be made extremely public. And so if anybody has any questions about the structure of this or about, how we built it, please feel free to ask. But we did employ legal, before really getting into any of this. And so we were very pragmatic about the way that we thought about it. And, there are protocols in place. So feel free to ask any specific questions if you've got them. But that is a little bit of color on what it is we have on our current tokenomic model and the economic model. The public sale number will likely change. We're not sure exactly how much we want to offer, and we're not sure exactly how much demand we're going to have. To be candid, we're still in grassroots mode. We're not really going out and pursuing a, massive AMA schedule. We're not, pumping our socials like crazy. We're not investing tons into marketing right now because we're working on developing our utility. And we want to take our time with that. And we don't want to feel the pressure of a massive community's weight of expectation when it is the case that we're still working on developing what it is we say we're building. So we're still doing a lot of, kind of grassroots stuff. We're still building our community. We're trying to find support from, key people, from the right kind of community that's willing to hop in and just watch us do what we do and maybe help us a little bit if they care to. We love engaging people, but we also love silent support. We'll take any and all. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. The public sale will likely change in terms of, 20% may actually shrink down to say 10% or 15%. We'll likely offer a lot of whitelisting as well. We like creating buying pressure coming into a public sale. We don't want it to be the case that, everybody who wants to buy gets in on a public sale, because then where's the buy pressure upon public release? We want this thing to shoot off. So that is in everybody's best interest. And the way that we structure the public sale will be very determining as a factor. The percentage that we do offer in that case will also affect our liquidity. Depending on how much is floating around in a circulating supply will affect the amount of liquidity that we would feel comfortable offering to the market. We don't want this thing swallowed. We don't want it to in any way appear unsustainable, and we want it to be safe. So that's also going to require reserves. And as it is right now, we've been rather conservative with the way that we've allocated all of this. We haven't given out much. We haven't done much. We have not really pursued VC either. And that is a possibility. It's entirely possible that we start to, put together some pitch deck materials and pursue some VC money in order to stabilize our community before a public sale, at which point maybe we offer a little bit less. And that's kind of our current thinking on it. We're open to consideration. And there's a reason why we've employed people like Tony Drummond. He has navigated this space before, and he's done it with a couple of projects, not just his own. So not only has he done it while he's had ownership, but he's also done it as a consultant. So we're lucky to leverage him in this sense. And we're currently building out, our understanding of that and trying to formulate a bit of a plan when it comes to the final, push prior to public sale. So I hope that gives some more color on what it is we're talking about with the tokenomic model. And apologies that we can't be a little bit more clear on it, but we're not going to blow smoke up your butt. We're going to be as honest as possible. And that is exactly where we're at on it right now.
Yeah. And two last things to add to that is regarding our private sale, which was 8% at 80,000. In order to be SEC compliant as possible, one of those tenets was we had to seek accredited investors primarily. What that means essentially is our private sale members, investors had to have like a minimum net worth of at least 200,000 for like an annual, couple years annually, but also or a net worth of $1 million plus. So Zach explained the vesting a little bit. We have to understand that after 12 months, most of these guys are friends and family, by the way. So, you know, it's like literally my father-in-law. So I'd like to believe they're not going to sell. But like Zach had mentioned, even after the first 12 months, they're able to liquidate 25%. That at that point, even if it dips 50% from where it started, they'll have covered 75% of their risk. So now they pretty much, they have all their initial investment back for the most part. And you have to understand is these people are very wealthy. They don't need, you know, they'll have the opportunity, and they're fortunate to be able to just kind of let it ride, if you will. You know, in fact, a lot of them have already asked if they can get whitelisted for you know, the public sale, which is great. So we're fortunate, you know, and we also wanted to make sure that when we did the private sale that we wanted to set caps on how much people could purchase. We didn't want to have too many people holding too large of a bag. So the majority of our private sale was people with $1,000, $3,000, you know, $2,000 investments. Our largest was $8,000. It was only one of them, right? So, you know, for us, so, you know, think about it from the perspective of you got a guy with a net worth of $1 million and he threw $1,000 into a project, right, to see what would happen with it. And after 1 year, he got $750 back of his initial investment, right? What's he going to do? He's going to let that ride like a lottery ticket. He's not going to dump, right? Why would he? He doesn't need that money. That's like going out to dinner with his wife and friends for 2 nights in a row. So we're fortunate with the people we brought into the private sale, and we have access to, so we're not too concerned about liquidation. And moreover, Zach had talked about vesting our private tokens. The reality is we don't want to sell our tokens. You know, why would we want to sell our own project? It doesn't make sense. So we're industrious Americans. We're all about branding, right? Two Lands is a brand. And we also realize that Two Lands, the blockchain aspect, is just one part of an even bigger brand. There's other avenues and revenue streams we want to tap into that are also outside of blockchain, which are in fact going to increase or bring in different various revenue streams that where Zach and I and our team members can take salary or take profits that in that way that won't affect the token, because that's the plan. If you're the CEO of Verizon, you know, or any other pick your big company in the world, you know, those guys don't live off their, you know, off their stock options. That's not how they live, right? They keep those things for retirement. So unless you're Elon Musk selling your Tesla, your shares, you know, so you can get back to the top of being the richest guy in the world since he lost it last week. You know, that's not how this works. There's no interest in, you know, why would I sell my own token? Well, that would just make people are not stupid. They could track all that stuff, right? So that's all I'd like to say about that.
Okay, that's wonderful. I believe that's very unique that a project like Two Land Token and people like you on behalf of your project discuss the liquidity lock mechanism, which other projects won't in an appropriate manner. Okay, I think that's it. Let's jump ahead towards the last question of this segment, which is, where can we find more information about TLT? Please share some social media links of TLT. I'm sure we're going to do that.
I'd appreciate, best place to go is twolandstoken.com for 2 reasons. Number one, for our SEO, right? It makes sense to go to the website first, and then you can get redirected to any of the social links you want, be it, you know, Telegram. Hey, how about we do this? Who wants to win $15 in ETH? Go on over to our Telegram, join, and I'll pick one at random today. And someone's going to send me a wallet after I pick someone. Let's have a little fun with this. Secondly, so you can go to our TikTok. I tend to go live. I do daily videos. You know, anything between YouTube. You know, Zach's building out a Discord, which will be up and running. I mean, we kind of have them all. I just started a Facebook. I'm not sure how, you know, how much we really want to post on that. This is going to be too much access, but we're kind of tapping into all the various different socials. The whole point is to, and Instagram as well. We're on all of them. The whole point is just to be able to target and find people from everywhere and help them and introduce this project. So that's all available on our website. Our audit is available on our website. We did it with Safe Food back in April. And our KYC as well. On our audit, we scored a 98.1%, which, 98.8, which put us in the top 1% of their audits that they had done at that time.
We will be re-auditing. We will certainly be doing comprehensive audits across the board on our web and our smart contracts on you know, everything this project has. Prior to any release, you guys will be made extremely aware of the results of those audits as well. And if there are any complications, we'll be very clear about, you know, what it is that we're going to be doing to address those. So that is something to keep your.
And again, back to transparency and just accessibility, you know, from a dev perspective, like, look, let's find times where I can go live on YouTube or something, and we can just actually engage and have informal AMAs. You know, one of the things I preach about is I don't even want to just tell you about this project. That's all well and good, but I want to get to know who you are. I want to get to know why you're interested in this project. What ideas do you have that can help us shape this project, right? It's about community. So it's not all about us. It's about all of us. So, you know, that's one of the things as we continue to grow. And if people want us to go live more, I'm all for it. We can sit and talk about this all day long. You know, that's why I do our little casual chats.
Token.com. Two lands token. That's the short form answer.
Yeah, there's the.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zach and Mr. Jared. We've covered the first segment of RMA. I'm sure all Twitter, Telegram, and social media links will be shared with us. We'll be pinning that in our community as well. Okay, guys. So our first segment is done. Let's move ahead towards the second segment, which is Twitter post questions. Here comes question number 1. I noticed you were doing a lot of MAs. My question is, what do you hope to gain for doing so many MAs, and what are your community goals? Do you think the community play an important part in the project? This is a fascinating question. Over to you guys.
Yeah, well, Jared, go ahead, my friend.
I was just saying, we're actually being very methodical about our AMAs. We're only trying to do one every other week right now because we are so focused, as Zach said, about building out our utility. You know, one of the things that, you know, we saw with projects, you know, when we started to launch this thing was, we don't want to be one of those promises, one of the projects that overpromise and underdeliver, right? So that's why we've taken our time with this project. In fact, we were supposed to launch today, December 21st, winter solstice, right? It was going to be a very important day for us. But, you know, back in November, you know, and looking at market conditions, we said to ourselves, all right, the timing isn't right. Let's continue to watch this. But okay, if we are going to hold off on launching, how can we make the project even cooler? And not even cooler, how can we add more utility that makes the project have more sustainability, right? A business has to be able to run itself. So it's great to get out there and try and change the world with your project, but the business itself has to sustain itself, right? So that's why we decided to get on in and start exploring this new utility that Zach had mentioned, because that's going to help us grow and sustain.
We also watched the investor change. You know, sentiment and understanding within the greater market really has changed. Most of the retail investors that maybe 2 years ago were getting into altcoins and, you know, feeding into FOMO more than anything else. You know, they were the ones hopping on the meme coin, you know, bandwagons. Those types of retail investors are starting to ask themselves different questions before they invest. And like yourselves, they're pursuing avenues by which they can find access to projects to ask really direct questions, to ask, you know, that which is, you know, determining underlying. And they're trying to figure out exactly why it is that what it is they're investing in has value and is gonna provide value to them going forward. So it has to be a continuous stream. It can't just be a one-time thing. You don't just buy an asset and then, you know, hope that, say, other people buy into it forever and ever and ever, and the price keeps going up. There has to be additional development. There has to be additional planning. There has to be, focus. There has to be some kind of a goal in mind, even. And so what it is that we've decided to focus on is listening to the feedback. And so we pursued AMAs a little bit more strongly, doing some smaller ones, getting a lot of really, really good feedback from a couple of really small communities that really engaged us on the early side. And we were able to grow our Telegram a little bit and grow our socials a little bit. And there was certainly that ancillary benefit. But the real reason why we started that process was to solicit feedback from the community, because we do live in a bit of an echo chamber. As much as we love to think that, we talk to tons of people and we've, got this amazing investor pool, and we do, those, is still representative of a small sliver of the global target market. And so we really wanted to start engaging that global market and really get a good perspective for what it was they were going to look for, what kind of questions they were going to ask. This is a perfect example. You guys have had a number of great questions that force us to try and answer them and be prepared to answer them too. I like being confident talking about this passion of mine and this thing I've worked really hard on. And I want to give myself more of an ability to do that. And at the same time, I know that what's going to allow me that is real utility. It's something, that people are going to be able to derive value from and see where our value proposition can match their expectation. That's the crux of it. And so that's what we focused on. And that's what we've been doing for the last, 2 months. We've watched these market conditions change, and we've watched investors change, and we've watched, potential regulation come down the pike as well. There's been some movement on that front, and FTX has imploded. There is some risk as far as Digital Coin Group goes. I think we all have a real interest in watching what happens over the next month, 2 months, 3 months. Things are going to shake out in a number of huge ways. And so we want to be prepared to either ride a wave up or weather that storm as best as possible. And that's been our focus.
Thank you for your answer. Let's go towards the second question we have. What does the TwoLand token name stands for? There are interesting stories behind every successful project. And of course, you have to work hard every day. Can you share one of these interesting stories with us? Over to you guys.
Jared, jump
well, I
on
think
it.
Yeah, TwoLands. I think I spoke about it at the beginning, but TwoLands is what Egypt was called. If you hopped on late, it's what Egypt was called prior to being unified in 3100 BC. So, so there was the upper and the lower, and it was big into duality. So that's where the name came from. What was the second part of that question? It broke up a little bit.
The interesting story about the hard work.
Well, we don't stop. We're workaholics by nature. So, the
Tell
goal. What's that?
Tell them about Glenn and about how we found our initial game developer. I feel like a perfect representation of how we do business and how we've been able to just attract a really cool team of people that are engaged with the idea behind and the understanding, origin of TwoLands.
Go ahead. What are you referring to? I'm not about Glenn. What we found. Yeah. Glenn's amazing. He designed our endless runner called Pyramid Scheme, and we had a little fun with that name because it's people like to call crypto a pyramid scheme, and we're anything but a pyramid scheme. so we had a little fun with that, and it's essentially an endless runner like Temple Run, and the video can be viewed on our website or any of our socials. So if you've ever played, Temple Run, it'll be very similar to that, but it'll be based in Egypt. And you can go ahead. The first 3 levels are already built, and we'll be integrating NFTs and various different ways for crypto to be used with Robot Sea Monster, who did Axie Infinity. And that game's coming down the road a little bit. It's already in production, but that'll probably be 4 or 5 months after launch. But that's why Zach was talking about this other utility with the mummies and the NFTs and the pharaohs and all that. That's going to be ready exactly when we launch. So, but Glenn's a great guy. He's out of Spain.
Yeah, I The reason why I brought him up, and
it's fun. He developed this project. We were working every day on it, and man, it was cool. And you broke up a bit.
Okay, I think you've covered no problem. I think you've covered the entire part of the question. It's good that we are among us. You guys are among us with the habit of being workaholic. That's wonderful. Okay, let's go with question number 3. Liquidity of pool effects on the price of all currencies. Sometimes due to low liquidity, cryptocurrency might tend or collapsing or rising. What are the strategies which you expect to launch in order to increase the liquidity of the pool in two-land tokens in future? Over to you.
Fantastic question. I am so glad your community asks that type of a question. It's so important. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Actually, it's exactly what I was talking about earlier with regard to capitalizing supply. There are a number of mechanisms by which we will be capitalizing our supply so that we can offer more liquidity to the market. Our initial liquidity will be largely determined by what we can take in a public sale. Depending on what kind of volume we look at in that regard and what kind of demand we have, we will have a really good understanding for how much we want to offer in liquidity. Likely, depending on the market cap that we eventually settle on, which will be anywhere, it's going to be low. It's going to be a relatively low number, but it will be in the couple of millions, around 2.5 to 3 million is a target market cap for diluted total supply. We know that a lot of market cap numbers are determined by circulating supply, and that's how some people look at it. We look at it from a long-term perspective. This is a total supply, so total diluted number should be around $2 to $3 million. So what it was that we would then offer for liquidity to the market would likely be to the tune of at least a couple $100,000. Now, we would be taking more than that in a public sale, and so the remaining funds would be used for strategic reserves, and we would certainly be able to offer some liquidity out of that reserve. But we are also going to be capitalizing on our supply by creating a marketplace for our NFTs. These dynamic NFTs that we'll be offering and releasing within the GameFi ecosystem and trivia games will also allow us to sell consumables, durables, and a number of other really cool features, benefits, and fun stuffs out of a shop. So we're going to be bypassing a lot of Apple and Google restrictions by creating a series of dApps that interact with a web portal, and it will allow people to essentially engage with our game and check into, say, the blockchain side of things, maybe once or twice a month. They can load up their bag, they can buy some TLT, and then that TLT will be used to integrate and to really engage with a GameFi ecosystem. And you'll be able to keep your TLT in a balance available on a web-based platform, on a mobile app eventually, but a web platform, and will allow for all kinds of fun trivia games to generate prize pools and create real value and rewards for people, while at the same time creating value with NFTs, with the lending aspect of NFTs, the staking aspect of these NFTs, and a couple of other cool things as well. So look for a lot of that actual detail and technicality within the next couple of weeks. We've actually just finished putting together our wireframe. We're starting to employ some, developments and development-based assets. And yeah, we can't wait to release a little bit more. We're working on some design stuff so that we can actually put out some content for people to start giving us feedback on. So that's a big thing that we're looking to do very soon. Yeah, Jared, was there any other thing that you cared to jump in about?
Sorry, can you hear me? Apologies, I was muted. No, I think, Zach, you answered that question. Fantastic. I'm sure they have a ton of questions, so we'll let them keep going. We like to talk a lot, by the way, if you guys can't tell.
But yeah, so is giving people
sometimes you gotta reel us in.
Yeah, but just to, I guess, make it the short version, the name of the game is allowing for people to find real value in things that we can sell them. It's going to be the NFTs. It's going to be the consumables associated with those NFTs. What we're going to really have to do, and what we're going to focus on, and what feedback we really want from you guys is, do you find what it is we're building to be engaging enough to, say, check in a couple times a week, maybe every day for a couple seconds here? We're talking about micro engagements as well. We're talking about, all kinds of click-through rates, and, we want ROI in a number of different ways, but engagement being number one. Whatever we can do to stimulate engagement, give us your feedback. So that will be.
And we also want to have fun with things too.
Yeah.
I had saw that someone mentioned on our Telegram about hieroglyphs and all that stuff. We have a plethora of things at our disposal, and because we're into the lore of ancient Egypt and all the things we don't know about our universe and this world in general, we're going to play around with hieroglyphs. We're going to have people decipher puzzles, all that kind of fun stuff. We're kind of getting dubbed the Indiana Jones meets the Da Vinci Code of crypto. So we're able to play into that kind of stuff, which I have a huge passion for that kind of thing. So we're going to make this fun because we are such a high mission project. We realize the value of, in order to help fund and do all those big grandiose things that we want to do, we have to do two things. We have to help make, people make money along the way, and also engage them while having fun doing so, right? So it really takes all of those things to come together. So we're focused on primarily making it a fun user experience. This entire project needs to be centered around, how do we make a great thing fun? That's really the short of it.
Because that will then stimulate sales, which will then put more TwoLands back in our company coffer, at which point we can then offer it back to the market as liquidity as the price goes up. That's how it all works. You have to find a mechanism and build a mechanism by which you can collect more of the token that will then be offered back to the community. And that will be offered to the community in a number of ways, through the staking mechanism, through, rewards pools, because there will be minimum payouts. We're not cheap on this. And we know that, there has to be real value. And so there will be minimum prize pools, minimum payouts. There will also be engagement-based payouts. There will be all kinds of, cool airdrops and marketing campaigns that we'd like to do. And in order to do that, we can't just have an ever shrinking reserve. It has to be the case that we are consistently taking in more of our own token. And that's the focus of our company. That's why it is that we built an LLC, so that we can have our digital asset as an asset of that company and build out additional functionality and utility through a number of other development arms. And that's where a lot of Web3 application will come in. We actually do have, and not to tease too much, we try not to put, the cart before the horse, but Jared and I being in service, we do have a number of strategic partnerships that we're starting to, line up. We're looking to, start percolating in that regard. And, tentatively, we have a couple conversations with some beer companies based here in the United States. We have some personal connections in that regard. And TwoLands, coming from Egypt, and being that the pyramids themselves were built by workers that were essentially living on beer and bread, we found it to be something that could really work with our branding and our thematics. And so that's something that we're exploring. And we're happy to explore anything related to that, anything kind of similar to that. Puzzles, games. We're very lucky. One of our team members comes from a physical board game, related background. He actually is in marketing primarily and does a lot of UI UX as well. But, his primary place of business was a toy company, a major toy company that sold, out of the United States here. And he was with them for 10 to 15 years, provides him with a plethora of contacts and quite a Rolodex that we can leverage. And we started to have some conversations about potentially doing a TwoLands board game that would be paired with some NFTs as well, of which a Kickstarter campaign like that has not really been seen yet. Not a truly successful one linked to a successful project. So we could be first to market in that regard as well. And there are a number of things that we're kind of thinking about when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's that kind of stuff that we think about, where I think where you have to think outside the box and not just be so blockchain focused all the time. There's various other ways to create revenue streams to your company. It's a company, so it needs to sustain itself. So that's part of the reason why we're talking about not selling our own tokens, because there's plenty of other ways for this project to make money. outside of even the realm of the tokens in and of itself. One of the other partnerships that we're in discussion with is a personal friend of mine, Christine Jansen, who started the very first virtual reality university here in the United States, based after New York. So she's doing incredible work. She's won just about every female award you can win, for business owner, entrepreneur, all those kind of things. So we're going to be looking to partner with her. Perhaps our token will be accepted as currency for her university, but also one of the things, because Zach and I are so big into education and also big into, essentially inspiring people to continue to learn. When the time comes, we'd like to figure out a way to perhaps sponsor someone or give them an education there. So there's a lot of things, a lot of just various different strategic partnerships we're looking into to help grow this project and raise awareness. I think the key is, just focusing on people that are strictly crypto. There's a whole ton, as there's 4 or 5%, whatever it is, of the people that are truly invested in crypto. There's a huge mass of people that want to learn more about crypto, and as mass adoption continues to take place, we're going to seek other avenues outside of just crypto to help bring them into our community and maybe learn a little bit along the way.
Hey, thank you for this wonderful answer. Let's go for another question, which is personally my favorite one. Question is, safety and security are two things be considered for investors before making investment decision. Which technology is used for the great privacy? How much privacy in secure the platform is? Are all assets insured? That's it. Over to you guys.
Great question. So one of the primary concerns I feel of any investor should be security. One of the things that we're doing, and the primary thing that we're doing, is running a series of audits on all of our smart contracts. Look for more development in that sense. We will be putting out more comprehensive audits so that people can do their own due diligence and really come through the project from a technical perspective and give us some insight, give themselves some insight. But we can all move forward feeling more confident in that transparency, but also, the security related aspects. The primary thing that we're doing in terms of the way that we're structuring our development that will provide immense amounts of security, limit the ability of hackers to get into any and all, digital assets that will be held outside of, say, private custodial wallets, is that we're going to be developing this from a dApp perspective in a way that will keep people, it'll be such that we won't be releasing most of what we do via web. Web is too easily manipulatable. It's too much of a target. We'll be releasing a lot of the actual development that will be related to your assets as investors. That will be blockchain based, and it will be not insured. So I want to be clear about that, not by us at Two Lands as it stands right now. That is an avenue by which we could do some exploration. As it is right now, we don't have the ability to insure our customer assets, but we're also not an exchange necessarily. People are investing in us. They're also taking on a certain degree of risk. And that is something that we take very seriously. So we will do everything in our power to make it as secure as possible, and reduce the attention of any and all miscreants that may look to manipulate. But in terms of the way that we build and release, it's going to be dApp based, and so it will be a little less manipulatable. I guess that's the best way I can kind of answer that first, and keep the focus on what we're focused on. But at the same time, also we'll talk about our team members. We have a number of technologists at our disposal that are providing us with security solutions. Jared had mentioned a team that we've been working with that helped us automate our burn contracts. Very accomplished little group out of Ukraine. Look them up. They're called redduck.io. It's company run by a gentleman named Mark. Brilliant blockchain developer. awesome when it comes to security. And being that Jared and I are not necessarily technical people ourselves, I come from a technical recruiting background, so I can speak to it and I understand, some of it. I don't write code myself, nor does Jared. And so we've employed a number of technologists that do have experience in that regard. Tony Drummond, our strategic consultant, is one of those. He is a full stack developer himself, which is a skill set that is just phenomenal, being that he also has such an operational awareness. And that's, actually where he came from vocationally prior to being in blockchain. He was in operations management. And, whether that was human resource or, physical resource, it made no difference. Operations are operations. And security is very much a part of that as well. The operational background is going to provide a lot of support when it comes to the build out of our security aspects. Was there anything in particular that you had a specific question about when it came to the security, or any, say, facet of the ecosystem that you had to focus on?
Sorry, are you asking me?
Yeah, I was curious. Was there any kind of a focus on, any one facet of the ecosystem, or I guess was it more of a generalized question? I like to make sure
it's probably a generalized question. If you want, I could repeat this question one more time for you.
No, I think I'm good there. I just want to make sure that I do answer your question as well. So I wanted to
I think you did that.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Let's jump on towards the last question of this segment, which is, what are Tool and Tokens marketing strategies, and how do you plan to implement global adaptation? How does intend on going on getting more users, community, and investment for all parts of the world, including non-English speakers and communities? Over to you guys.
Sure. Great question. Well, like we said, we already had a private sale, right? So we have that money locked and loaded, sitting in the piggy bank, ready to go, right? Zach and I self-funded this, this project, so we're invested in it from a financial perspective. We've brought on Kryptonite Marketing, also based out of the United States here, which is great for our time zone. But they have a wealth of knowledge and experience in this space, bringing tons of projects to market. So we're fortunate in that regard, and they're now working with Moonbound Consulting, Tony. And so it's one big, we like to think of it as a little team here that's, that with people that have truly done this before. So when the time is right and we're starting to see, market conditions turn a bit, we're going to be executing a full marketing campaign where they're going to help navigate that and essentially, really hit the ground running, guerrilla warfare style. That's why we're doing these AMAs kind of once every other week, just to kind of get our foot in the water, but our toes in the water.
We did our first press release, but we kept it a small, limited release across a number of local outlets. We'll be pursuing larger outlets for more comprehensive press releases. That type of a thing is going to factor in considerably.
Sure.
The actual execution, we're going to have it down to the day, down to the letter, hour by hour. How are we going to be releasing things? What is it that we want, people to continuously engage with? What platform are we going to really pursue? Likely Twitter is going to be a focus. TikTok, being that Jared has a little bit of a following, will probably continue with some of those lives, but there are Twitter spaces too. And there are a number of different ways to the top of that mountain. And so as for how we 100%, go forward in that regard, we don't have a tangible answer for you, but there are going to be a number of things like that. We like doing little shilling contests. We have built out a little team of shillers. Why not use those to an extent for the community's benefit? We can start to target some personalities that we think really represent the Two Plans brand, and we can start to try and influence them, bring them into our community a little bit, and then help leverage them. We like the idea of bringing engaged individuals, and I think at that point, it's just a matter of getting the name out there. You have to get your foot in the door. You have to get your concept across in, very concise way, but also a really palatable way. And that's part of why we built out the branding the way that we have. And the thematics within ancient Egypt provide a lot of familiarity, but also a lot of eye-catching and a lot that would stimulate from an aesthetic perspective. So we have a lot to work with in that regard, and we'll be putting out digital arts. So there will be NFT contents that we'll be working on putting out in terms of stimulating a little bit of early anticipation. But we'll also be doing all kinds of releases about these major developments that we're working on in terms of the major utilities, any and all updates from a contract and audit perspective. All of these things are going to be, very much a part of this holistic marketing perspective and marketing approach, because we like optimizing our dollar. We don't mind putting in the sweat equity. Jared and I will hop on AMAs, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, 10 times a week during this blitz, as we like to call it. We know it's going to be nose to the grindstone, and we're going to be ready to hit it running. So
there are a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
No, that was it. I'm so sorry. I cut you off.
No. I was just going to add to the question regarding specifically the Asian community. Kryptonite Marketing has a strategic partnership with DTC, which is a tremendous marketing firm out of Asia, and they're very tied into that community. So they're aware of our project. They've already given some advice on the project, and we'll have them at our resource and disposal as well. Beyond that, too, the one thing we haven't mentioned is just some clarity is we are an ERC20 token. So the one thing that I want to mention is we've been approached by multiple launch pads, and as well as multiple exchanges for IEO. We have not decided who we're going to launch with or how we're going to launch. We're taking that, we're trying to be very thoughtful about that decision, but that'll be largely influenced by our community and where that is, and how we can offer the best experience and have the best potential growth. So we're taking in a lot of different factors. We're taking our time. Rushing this is not who we are as people. Ultimately we have to protect everyone's investment, including yours. So primarily yours, frankly. So we're going to be methodical and strategic and thoughtful about how we approach those big decisions.
Okay, so I think you've covered this the part of the question. Thank you, guys. I think we have completed the second segment entirely. Let's just move ahead towards the last and the most exciting segment, which is Telegram Live segment. In this segment, we'll be allowing some community members and see what questions they have in mind. Okay, let's pick Irtaza. Irtaza, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question.
Hello guys, how are you doing?
Hi there.
Hey there, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I am fine. My question is that could you please tell us what tools does TwoLands offer that will allow it to be competitive in the market and attract the attention of users for a long time? And besides this, could you also tell us if they offer any kind of reward within this platform?
Yeah, great question. So there are a number of things that we're going to be doing to stimulate this long term. But first and foremost, we're going to be looking to build our base around a community that has an appreciation for the altruistic nature and altruistic roots in this project. We are going to be offering lots of utility that will allow for people to take profits and to earn rewards, and there will be features tied to that aspect of things. We know that money is intrinsic to this as well, but first and foremost, what we'll be doing is focusing on inspiring that inner explorer and inspiring some curiosity. And what better way than delivering a trivia-based GameFi concept in which you can integrate and really start to earn rewards via dynamic NFTs that you'll be able to stake, lend, and use within a GameFi ecosystem. So there will be a number of different types of trivia, but primarily historically focused. And we will allow for prize pools to essentially attract, certain gamers that will then, create value within our ecosystem. Our gaming arm, as we're going to be releasing it post public sale, will be delivered in such a way that there are as few barriers as possible to entry for any retail consumer. So it won't necessarily be the case that it has to be blockchain related. And you don't necessarily have to be involved in the crypto aspect to be involved in this gaming ecosystem. The lending aspect kind of provides a certain amount of value to our investors like yourselves, who will likely be having, you know, an NFT or two in their portfolio. They will be adding that to their collection in a number of ways, and they may be staking some of that, but they may also look to, say, lend it out on a individualized basis. If we were to deliver, say, a solution that would allow for one user to contribute their asset for a finite period of time in exchange custody, in exchange for a share of rewards and prizes, we would be able to tap into a bit of value that is otherwise, you know, relatively unseen in the market. Now, there will be different staking multipliers associated with different rarity types of these NFTs as well. And so there will be a collectible aspect to all of these NFTs that we release with related, you know, GameFi aspects. And they will have additional features and benefits that you'll be able to use to better equip yourself in these trivia contests. And you'll be able to better accrue rewards, and you'll be able to use those rewards in a couple of really cool and fun ways that'll allow you to, say, accrue additional assets. We wanted to create ways by which people could kind of diversify their asset classes. And one of the best ways to do that is with NFTs these days. One of the things that we really love about NFTs in particular is that it's an art-based market. Myself, coming from an art-based background, I see a lot of value there in that art is inherently subjective. It is something that is tied to the individual user and the individual holder. It is a value intrinsically tied to however people feel about it, and less to an actual, you know, utility. What we wanted to do was marry those two. We wanted to create something that people could feel really, really tied to from an intrinsic perspective and a feeling perspective, but also realize that there is real value and that they can use for purposes that will earn rewards and benefits. That is, I think, the best way I can kind of answer your question. Long term, though, I guess just to circle back to that first part of the question, where what are we doing to stimulate long term? We're building around our community base, and the way that we're going to do that is by targeting. This is a part of that, actually. These AMA sessions, we're as open and honest about that as a focus, and that tends to attract people who also feel similarly and will be willing to, say, you know, focus more on that. And help us build more on that, because I think that adds a ton of value as well. It adds credibility. People, I believe, will over time see the way that we continue to stay true to our focus and true to the integrity of the project, at which point it will hopefully propagate as well within our community even more. And so that's how we really look at the long term. We wanted to create a way by which we could capitalize our supply and, you know, continuously offer more liquidity and really plan from an accounting perspective how we do these things. But how do we also build the community that's going to stick around long term, that's going to really find value in this long term, and that's going to, you know, help us move the needle, because that's truly a goal as well.
Thank you. I hope this answers your question, Mr. Ertaza. Let's move ahead towards the second contestant we have. Let's take Valencia. Valencia, please ask your question. Your mic has been unmuted.
Hey, mate, how are you?
How are you?
Hi.
Are you hearing me?
Yes. Hi there.
My question is, project promises a long-term and success, but never release anything project or pick your project friends project.
I'm so sorry, you got cut off there. I didn't catch that. Would you mind repeating, please?
Project is a plan, big mission success in future, but never really product revenue. Me with these projects.
Jason, I don't know if you were able to hear that, but
I think we're cutting out from Valencia. If you're hearing, please repeat your questions once, or otherwise to move forward.
Yeah, it's breaking up pretty bad.
Okay, many
Valencia, please ask your question.
term. Repeat this question. My is that many projects are long-term plan, big, but never really any product or revenue. What makes your project different with these projects?
What makes us different regarding something? I did not hear. But why don't we do this? We're having a tough time answer. I can't answer a question we can't understand because it's breaking up. But I'd like you to be selected as one of the members, or excuse me, one of the questions that got selected. So perhaps you could write that. Perhaps you can introduce yourself.
Please
in our
write in
Telegram.
your question. Valencia, please write in your question in DM.
Yeah, maybe you can write your question and/or write it in our Telegram, and I can answer it later for you.
Yeah, we'll be happy to send a written message in response to that question. I'm so sorry we can't quite hear you very well. It seems like the technology is getting in the way, but
no problem. Let's move ahead towards the next participant we have.
I want to say that how your work is different from other subjects.
Okay, Valencia, I will get your questions back ahead. Let's ask Edna Lord. Edna Lord, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question. Edna, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question. Okay, Edna Lord, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question. Otherwise, we have no option but to move ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Edna.
Hi, Edna.
How are you guys?
Doing very
We're doing well.
Okay. So can I ask my question?
Of course.
All right. So what are the benefits of holding TLT as long-term investment? Can you tell us about the motivation and benefits for small fund investors to keep their DEO token in the long run?
Yeah, well, I think that goes back to our, well, for starters, our holder burns, right? We're setting up, a lot of these tokens burn a ton amount of supply out of the gate, but how does that incentivize people to, if they've missed that opportunity to get in, continue to hold? So that's why we implemented our holder burn, because we want to set benchmarks. We're incentivizing people to kind of stick around long term because there's going to be more burns coming, and they know exactly when those burns are coming. That's one way, and including our sacrificial burns. And then
we want the early investors to take advantage of the most scarcity.
100%.
As demand will rise, scarcity will, be implemented, at which point there is an inverse correlation, and we should see some price action for everybody's benefit, but especially those who invest early and hold long term. There will be additional ways by which you can use your TwoLands tokens and leverage those into additional benefits. Part of that is going to be the DAO. We will be executing a lot of our big ticket initiatives and a lot of our donations through our community-based DAO, at which point you will need to have a minimum amount in your token balance in order to engage with a vote. It will essentially be a simple voting mechanism by which we determine how to execute our donations. And there will be, little bits of every part of our ecosystem shaved off and delivered to this DAO, at which point people will be able to feel as if they have some ownership over some of what it is that we're doing in terms of the altruistic nature of things. So if you care to engage for that purpose, you will, just by holding TwoLands, you will be able to engage with the community and have your voting right heard. and have an impact in that regard. You will also be able to use your Two Lands tokens to purchase at discount virtually anything within our ecosystem. You'll also be able to stake those essentially by using them to purchase our dynamic NFTs, which will then earn staking rewards. So you can diversify your Two Lands into other asset classes within our ecosystem, keep it all in-house, and earn static rewards. You could also sit there and watch your token balance grow. If you're, say, somebody who wants to keep a minimum token balance, not necessarily get involved with the gaming aspect, and contribute to the DAO, contribute to the community by engaging, you can also just sit there and watch your token balance grow by earning your static rewards. There is rebase functionality built into Two Lands token that allows for 0.8% to be statically redistributed to all token holders. So in that way, there is a soft staking mechanism already implemented into the source code of the token. Each of those kind of contributes to a long-term hold mechanism, is how we kind of like to think about it. Not to mention, we can also all as investors have a little bit of, safety or feel a little bit more safe in the stability of the project, knowing that private sale is a staggered liquidation. It is 100% locked up through 12 months. Our team liquidity is locked for bare minimum 18 months, if not longer. And we will have other additional parts like our burn mechanism that represents about 30% of the total supply that will be locked and scheduled for burn. Now, it will be allowing us as Two Lands to capitalize on our own supply because that sum will still be earning static reflections as well. But what we'll be doing with those static reflections is we'll be offering them back to the market in continued liquidity, but we'll also be delivering them back to the community in a number of really fun marketing endeavors. Jared and I don't like to tease too much about one of those marketing endeavors in particular, but I would like to put it on people's radar in a way. We're doing some really cool, fun things with regards to treasure hunts. And we love inspiring explorers, the next generation of explorers. So put that in your heads as well in terms of a long-term reason to stay involved and to stay active and just keep your ear to the ground, because there will be ancillary benefits that just by continuously engaging and listening and picking up on these little nuggets as we drop them, because we're very careful about when we do and how we do, you will also be able to likely take so many additional profits and really, find some value beyond money even. You can have some fun with it.
Yeah, we're truly looking to change people's lives, honestly, including our own, through blockchain, But I think, the other thing too is a lot of projects, not to use the American phrase one trick pony, but they sometimes release too much right out of the gate. And then there's, it dips because there's no more excitement and then it takes months and months and months and months for them to promise that they're going to bring something to market. And then it takes a long time and then they don't, and then people sell. So for us, we realize the value of, staggering releases, bringing things that, executing various different proponents in our ecosystem, bringing them to keep excitement in the project. People want to be excited, and over time, in order to grow, you have to continue to bring new things to market. So those will be, we'll be thoughtful about releasing those strategically, to help, to hedge against, dips, from market conditions, various inflationary, just geopolitics in and of itself, right? That you can't help. But what you can help is how do you hedge against it, and through that, and how you do that is by continuing to bring new things to market to excite people to hold.
And speaking to that real quick, because that's a great point that I had forgotten to mention, is the infrastructure that we're building with regard to a lot of this GameFi aspect. It is infrastructure built primarily in technologies like React that allow for a ton of update and at very little cost to the consumer. And very little cost to us as well, actually. So what it is we're building is something that we can take forward knowing that we're going to be implementing additional updates. And so this trivia set of games that we'll be releasing for our initial GameFi concept with our public sale, that is something that we can easily retrofit for, say, puzzles. We love cryptograms in particular. Jared actually got in touch with, and this is so cool, we had a conversation with the gentleman who created the cryptex for the Da Vinci Code. If anybody has seen that movie, we reached out to the guy who actually built and designed the first ever Cryptex, and he's built a business around it. We love the idea of incorporating crypto, grams of some kind, with hieroglyphs perhaps infused into a GameFi concept for, say, a V2 update. And we're open to a lot of feedback. So part of what we love about this type of a community is that we get to solicit all of this feedback and take into account what it is people want to actually consume. So we asked ourselves, what is lowest barrier, lowest cost, greatest MVP, most addictive MVP that we can offer to market that is most on brand as well. And we came up with trivia, and we're very confident in that pursuit. But as for updates, we like to leverage the community, and we want to see what people want to play, and we're happy to build that. So keep us posted.
Yeah, I think you've covered the entire part of the question. Let's
Just
ask.
fair warning, real quick. Zach might be able to hang a little longer, but I have to leave for another meeting in 10 minutes, just to give everyone a heads up. But I'll answer any questions in our Telegram, later after that. And I appreciate everyone listening, just to give you a heads up. Also, please go ahead and join our Telegram, because I probably will select someone to give it a little gift to later. We're gonna have some fun with this.
No problem. We're just about to sign out. Let's ask Stellian Blues in a real quick way. Stellian, please ask your question. Your mic has been unmuted.
Hello, sir.
Crypto Girl, please ask your question.
My question is about related to marketing. I ask please. Sir, may I
Audible, please ask your question.
Sure. My question is, marketing is essential of every project so that knows about the project. And you tell me what are the goals you are set up for the tool and tokens, and what are the long themes of your project?
I caught
Was that about our marketing? Is that?
My question is related to marketing. What are the long-term projects?
Right, long-term goals in regard to marketing. Well, I mean, that started with essentially the fact that I'm proud to say we haven't started our official marketing campaign yet. These are just little grassroots steps like these AMAs. Just get our feet wet and start seeing, and like Zach had mentioned earlier, getting community feedback so that they can help dictate and narrate this story that we're going to start to try to tell. So we will be executing a full marketing campaign sometime leading up to launch, hopefully Q1 of next year, in which, like we said, we're going to do a blitz, guerrilla warfare style. We're going to be out there speaking to anyone that'll possibly listen to us, and through various different social media outlets, and going live and daily updates and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but long term, we'll be continuing to do similar. We're going to learn, we're not just going to stop once the token launches, right? We're going to continue to grow this project through what works, beyond community, but also further marketing. I mean, we realize in order to create a project, you have to, you have to spend money in order to raise awareness, right? So that's not going to stop. In fact, it's, as we bring in more money, we'll have more to spend. So if that answers your question.
Well, yeah, and just to jump in and add a little bit more color as well in terms of some more tangible, long-term goals. We are going to be looking to incorporate a number of, celebrity personalities. That is something that we're very fortunate. Jared has some significant access. I have some family access as well, and we'll be kind of, fleshing that out. I am really careful not to talk too much about that type of a thing, NDAs and whatnot, but also just out of respect for those potentially involved. It's not something that we need additional pressure on right now, but just to put it on your radar, there will be, a look and a push in that regard, trying to, build ourselves a platform, an awareness-based platform, centered around a number of individuals that, you know, with their relative celebrity status within the industries and within the circles that we're looking to target, we'll be able to really start to build a more tangible kind of momentum, I guess is the best way to put it. That coupled with some really tangible, say, shilling contests, airdrop contests, some NFT projects that we're going to be doing, a number of contents and you know, bits that we'll be releasing about, say, our contracts and our audits, about our V2s of our white paper and our website updates. Any and all of those things will be used from a marketing perspective to continuously remind people of the fact that this is a no sleep situation. Jared and I are working on this constantly, and we really do care to move the needle. And it will be the case that we'll have things, you know, lined up to an extent, but we will also be doing active development, and we want to keep people abreast of any and all of that. So that will be used from a marketing perspective, and we'll be, you know, looking to, I guess, from a long-term perspective, just inspire, I guess, through consistency.
Yeah. And not to mention too, you know, we'll have influencer. We're already starting to get all the influencers to reach out to us in private via, you know, YouTube and all, you know, all the others, Instagram. And then also when exchanges, you know, we've been sought out by just about all the exchanges, with the exception of a few I've had some conversations with. So, you know, as we start to think about who we list with when we cross that bridge, that'll also create huge awareness, you know, just based on who use those platforms. So, you know, we're gonna continue to be, you know, pretty much as thoughtful as we can be as far as who we target and how we target. With that, guys, I apologize. I'm gonna have to hop off here in 2 minutes. Perhaps Zach can answer another question.
Unfortunately, I do have to run as well. We're running up against 2 hours here, and thank you all so much for your time. By the way, we normally like to end with at the very least a whole bunch of gratitude. We are so grateful for your time.
No problem. I wish both of you good luck for your upcoming projects and events. We still have one more contestant, but no worry, we can move ahead.
No, go ahead. We'll answer it very quickly.
Yeah, we can answer one last question.
Okay. Let's take the last lucky one we have. Let's take it from the rare. Okay. Noor, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question. Noor, your mic has been unmuted. Please ask your question.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
So my question is, in bear market, majority of projects failed. So can I know how TLT had deal with the bear market? How bear market affected your project, and have you also changed your roadmap and plans due to this bear market condition?
Yeah, well, exactly. I think it's really a two-part question. Number one, we're fortunate that our private sale is friends and family for the most part. So they're understanding, they're invested in us. They're not even so much invested in the project. Some of them, like my father-in-law, doesn't even own any crypto. He's investing in Zach and I, right? So we're in no hurry to release. In fact, for some of you that may know, today was actually supposed to be our release, you know, and we pushed it back. We were actually supposed to launch this project back in May, but we weren't ready. So we continue to grow. We continue to learn. So yeah, I think we you know, I monitor, and Zach and, you know, and Tony, we're looking at these markets every single day. And, you know, one of the things, we're not quick to launch, you know, geopolitical pressure across the globe, you know, FUD, there's no point to launch if there's no excitement in the market. It's just that simple. So when we start to see a turnaround, and we don't even know that there's not going to be a little bit more of a dip in the market before it gets better, you know, with the Fed meeting, you know, in January and February, and, you know, how that affects inflation and the housing market in general here in the United States. It's going to, and then just other geopolitical factors across the world, you know, after the FTX fallout, you know, I feel badly for projects that launched in those in certain times, because I don't care how great a project is, it's going to be fighting an uphill battle if you're launching in these in these waters right now. So for us, we're in no hurry. We're going to make sure that all of our investments, including yours, mainly yours, is protected, because there's no point to start to create a project of this magnitude and try and fight a bear market. It just doesn't make sense. It won't work.
And to answer the first part of that question as well, we really feel, and this is something that truly is ironic. We feel like this bear market made us stronger. It actually forced us to be better. It changed the investor sentiment, which changed our understanding of the market, which then changed our understanding of what we needed to offer as a minimum viable product in order to be successful. And so what we've gone and done is tried to offer something even more comprehensive, but with fewer barriers to entry and with more utility and more value proposition. So we're not necessarily offering at, say, a different price than we were expecting to, but the value intrinsic in the project has grown exponentially. And we found it, as bear markets go, to actually be a really fortunate turn of events, in the sense that it forced us to be even better and to seek, new and exciting ways that we can really add value and add utility to this concept. So it has made us a better project in a lot of ways. It forced Jared and I to consider a lot more than we maybe had. I think it has been a testing of sorts, and the market will continue to test us all. But in terms of the way that it's currently testing the limitations of, say, the Launchpad market, we look at that and we don't see it as anywhere near certain or anywhere, to a degree of risk that we're really comfortable with. So we want to be, continuously pragmatic, and we want to continue to apply that mindset that we've, been able to really employ going forward, or so far we want to employ it going forward. And that's something that, we've been very fortunate for. So this bear market, as difficult as it has been, and in terms of, current market conditions, it still provides a lot of difficulty. It has also forced us to be even better, and it really has forced the project to grow. And we see it as a benefit in a number of ways. Which is,
yes, and to conclude real quick, I'll just say that in a lot of ways it actually helped us be better and put out a better project. And we are Ethereum based, so I don't think Ethereum's going anywhere. So we're thrilled to be to have the advantage to ride that wave up once it comes back, hopefully sooner than later in 2023.
That said,
that's it, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason, this has been, and thank you everyone that joined us. Let me just reiterate, please go ahead and join our Telegram. I will be picking someone today to win a little bit of a prize, so I'll contact you. Even though my handle says won't DM, I will DM you today. And be careful. There's a copycat. There's a copycat token, and there's also a copycat. I guess I was informed by my marketing company that someone is impersonating me. So I will not ask you for money. I promise you. I'm gonna give your money, not take your money. Anyways, with
that's good. Okay, that's it for today's MA. We wish you best of luck for your upcoming events, and thank you, Mr. Zach and Mr. Jared. We've been engaged here for 2 hours or more, and it's a healthy conversation. This is me, Jason, signing off from the official platform of Universal Crypto World. Guys, do your own research. Look for the project Tool and Token, which is exceptional one. Mr. Jared and Mr. Zach are a perfect combination of having a wonderful team to invest. It's a pre-gift for before Christmas. You guys can do your own research. And I'm seeing my inbox is overloaded with questions. You can ask questions in the personal Telegram channel of TLT Token. I think that's it. Any last concluding words do you wish to share? So over to you guys.
Just so grateful for you all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And please feel free. I'll answer any questions you have in our Telegram. We got to run. We got more work to do today. You guys take care. And thank
Have a
you again.
wonderful day, everybody. And if you're celebrating any holidays,
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
Happy New Year. And winter solstice today.
winter
New
solstice.
rebirth.
today.
Rebirth. A new year's ahead. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks again, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.